everyone, my name is Barb Smith. Welcome back to Find My Team Conversations. I'm so thrilled for this conversation because I have a great friend and a very, very, very experienced expert on transitions. So, welcome, Dr. Yolanda Brooks. We're so lucky to have you. And I'm not just saying this, we're so lucky to have you to talk about transitions because this is something that student athletes and parents don't think about when they're a child and when they're playing sports. And it's a huge piece of not only the recruiting process, but also college life. So, an active clinical provider, lengthy history, like we're talking 32 years plus of clinical consultant with individuals. She's worked with the military, corporate and sports executives, professional and amateur athletes, including high school athletes and families, numerous educational institutions, including one that I worked at, which is where we met, and I'm so glad that that happened when we were at the University of Minnesota. Dr. Yo, can I call you that still, Dr. Yo? Can I call you?
Absolutely. Get in the
Okay.
know, learn to grow with Dr. Yo.
Yes. All right. Dr. Yo is a medical provider, a mental skills coach, an educational instructor, a personal coach, sports executive, and transitional specialist. But she's also a very sought after motivational speaker and is appears on podcasts, appears on these type shows, and has been on the TV. She's got TED Talks. She is, how do we say, famous, famous.
I wouldn't say that, but I'm known.
She's known. She holds a doctorate in clinical psychology and a bachelor's in occupational therapy with a specialty in physical medicine and rehabilitation. And I may have known this, but I've forgotten that your emphasis was head trauma and spinal cord injuries, which,
Yes,
wow, that's huge.
it still
Currently,
is.
yes, yes, and then all the concussions. That's a whole nother show. We should probably talk about that too. She's currently a team mental health and wellness clinician and sports psychologist for the Dallas Cowboys, and also helping professional athletes with transitions, which is again how we sort of that was our one of our first conversations, which was so intriguing to me. She has founded a company, founder and principal at Sports Life Transitions, which consists of programs and services involving mental transformation, personal enhancement, and transitioning. In sports, work, education, and day to day life, we provide innovative and proactive strategies reinforcing a mindset towards positive, productive, and sustainable change. And as this conversation goes, you're going to see the energy and the positivity coming, just flowing from her pores, because that's exactly who she is. Now, I will say she is also an athlete, former athlete, still an athlete.
Yes,
Once an athlete, always an athlete.
that's right.
Track and field and a little bit of tennis,
A
correct?
lot of tennis.
A lot of tennis.
Tennis is my racket.
And she's also a Buckeye. All right.
Hey, go Bucks.
Okay, Dr. Yo, I've probably not said enough about all that you do.
I think
Um,
you've covered more than the basis.
well, tell us a fun fact about yourself before we start drilling you with questions.
Well, one of the first things that comes to mind for the listeners out there is Coach Barb saved my life. She found me and had me come work with her and the team she was coaching at the time. I got to do something I had always wanted to do was work with women's teams. And I got that opportunity first and foremost with Coach Barb Smith here. So you are all in great hands. If you're watching this and if you're working with her, I will start with that first. Now, what's another good fun fact about me? Well, I think she said pretty much a lot of things and everything about me. I sound a bit old because when you get older, you have done a lot more things. But I think the most fun thing about me at this stage of my life is that number one, I'm a grandmother.
I was gonna
Number
say,
two is I have learned what fun life can be if you allow that part of you to stay a part of you as you're going through life, then you find passion for whatever that is. And in sport, it permeates every facet of your life in one way, shape, or another, even if you don't consider yourself an athlete. We're competitors,
Yes.
and we want to get our needs met in certain ways. And that's the fun part of life. We don't have to be in a formal sport. We can make life a sport. So sport is life.
I love that. I love that. And I'm gonna start with this whole. I'm gonna segue to somewhere else because this what you said is so important right now in sports. Okay, college, high school. I mean, this is even youth now. Okay, that the athlete comes first, and then the student comes maybe second, and then the person is forgotten about, is
Oh,
shelved.
absolutely. That's the mentality of so many entities. And I think that's why, at least in my private practice, in this space that we're talking about, it's exploding because people want to feel relevant, they want to feel valued, they want to have a sense of purpose. And that's very difficult when you just are felt like a commodity. Yes, sport is a business, but sport is also life. How are you competing, taking the best care you possibly can of yourself? Because the real competition isn't against an opponent in a sport, it's really against oneself. How can I be better today than I was yesterday, but maybe not as good as tomorrow? In whatever it is we're doing to function in life. And to embrace that, wow, I woke up today. That gives me another chance to get it right, to start over, maybe do something a little differently, whatever that is. But it's ours,
Yeah.
and we are unique unto ourselves. And too many of us look around us and compare. And one of the things that I've started saying this, and nothing against chickens, but if you're looking around and you're seeing chickens and you want to be one of the chickens, but you're an eagle, why would you work so hard and look so down on yourself because you don't fit with the chickens? You're an eagle. You can fly.
That is awesome because as you're we all even coaches. I mean, I was coached for 30 some years, and it's like you get so tunnel visioned.
Yes,
And so parents are also tunnel visioning their children into a certain sport or a certain direction, and it's feed the athlete, and we forget that we're not feeding the person. And just what you said. So I don't know if
that's
there's
right.
some advice that you can give
Well,
to.
absolutely. It starts with me, myself, and I, the one person you're with 24/7 since the day you were born, 24/7. And that's the one person that you ignore. And other people learn from your example. So if you're not taking care of yourself and putting yourself as a priority, other people won't either. And we tend to do that. And we don't even recognize it when we're doing it. And for females, we're socialized to be that way to some extent. You're selfish, self centered if you put yourself first. Well, if I didn't do that, I'm not here to help you do whatever it is you need my support and help with. So we really need to step back and look at the person looking at us in the mirror and saying, who am I? Who do I want to be? And can I be that person? Who is me? Oh, that rhymes. Maybe I ought to write that down, huh?
You've already
But
had several of those during this.
yeah, I'm teaching sports psych at a university here as an adjunct. And one of the things that I tell them all the time, and they get so upset with me because it's really just ad nauseum, but it's like laughter truly is the best medicine. If you don't laugh, when is the last time you have belly laughed and laughed so hard your ribs are splitting, your stomach's aching, and you can't even stop? That is beautiful. That is wonderful because that's oxygenation of your bloodstream. Oxygenation of your bloodstream helps your body function better. It goes out to your extremities, your veins and arteries, the neurotransmitters, everything is firing, and you're working optimally just by living and breathing. And we don't even think about it because we're doing it. But when you stop and think about all of the mechanical things that happen in our body systems, that go right. And one thing, like something gets in our eye and it bothers us, then we pay attention to it when something's wrong.
Great point. That's a
We
great.
need to appreciate it before that happens. And that's the key thing that I feel so passionate about is I use laughter, but when you stop and think about it from a physiological, anatomical, biological aspect, it truly is magical. Like they say, swimming is the ultimate sport. Well, laughter and breathing, we can't survive without that.
That's a
So,
great
so,
point.
so that's my like my platform, my mantra, the thing that I profess and preach about and teach about.
Yeah, and you can tell the passion there, but you can tell. I mean, I have seen this myself, even with myself, how it's easy. It's so easy to forget it, and to be like so, locked into where you're going instead of taking it in as you're being present as you are. And wasn't there like a study about how often babies laugh, and then as you get older, it's like, you know 500 times or 600 times a day to nothing, as you get older.
There are
So
a lot of studies about these things, and we spend so much time studying and watching other things as opposed to really experiencing things. And when you just stop, literally stop and go and time out, like now there are programs here, focus time, 8 to 10 in the morning, or meditation, or it's like this stuff has been around for thousands of years. What do you mean we have to now program that in so that we get reminders to do this? Pray, meditate, just be quiet, turn off, listen to the sounds of nature. The simplest things, the most powerful, provocative things are free and they're around us. We're surrounded by it. And be an observer of ourselves, not just an observer of others, because then we become judges.
yeah,
Oh, I noticed this. Looking at me, maybe I need to do this and do that. Maybe not. Maybe not.
awesome.
Maybe you just being you, and stop trying to be the mold or model of someone else's expectations.
Mm.
It's good to see yourself through the eyes of others, but that doesn't mean you have to redesign your life to meet their expectations. They're
And most of the
projecting
time
their
it won't.
stuff on you. Yes, and
Most
parents do
of the
that a lot with their kids.
Yes, yes, and most of the time it doesn't work.
It doesn't work because it's not how by design we're meant to be. We're supposed to live our own lives. Only we can feel what we feel when I pinch my hand. Only I can feel that. Somebody was like, "Ooh, didn't that hurt?" Well, they can't feel what I'm feeling.
Yeah,
But yet people try to say, you need to feel a certain way. What way is that? I only know what I feel. And
yeah.
if I'm going to feel what I feel, I don't control my feelings. I can control how I manage them or respond to them, but my feelings are my feelings. And sometimes I don't want to care as much as I do, but I do,
I love
you
it.
know.
So
Yeah.
so for people who don't understand this or maybe haven't quite dove into this concept of transitioning, what does that mean? What does that mean, transitioning?
Transitioning in this means change, and change is life. Life is change. So living life means you are transitioning, and as you transition, you transform. So, for example, when an athlete, using athletes as the example, when they go from high school to college, oh, I'm not going to change. It's like, well, yeah, that's the point, to change. That's the point of living life. You're not the same person today that you were yesterday. You're not the same that you were a month ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, if you're older than 10 years old. And that's the whole point of life. And that's change, and change transforms us. And that is what we need to look at and embrace, because that means we're living, not existing. And we're embracing that part. Yeah, we have to make adjustments along the way. When I was younger, I couldn't wait to get older, like the older siblings and cousins of my family, because I had more freedom to do stuff. Well, Yeah, I did, but that came with more responsibility too. I liked it when other people did stuff for me. Now, it's like, well, where were those days? Why didn't I appreciate them more? Oh, money, allowance free. Oh, thank
Right?
you. Yes.
Right.
What do you mean I have to work for it? Can't you just give it to me?
So with your experience and with working with families and working with high school kids too, what are the main what are the main changes that you see with high school and college that people need to be aware of?
Well, from a parental standpoint, I think recognizing how much you actually do for your child, and that now they're going to have to do that themselves. So why not start that process before they get there, so you can see where the gaps are, where the problems are that you might need to address before they get out of your household and you don't know how much they're struggling, or that they may not be able to do certain things. And as much as I know and think I was planning everything, all of my children played sports, but all of them were amazing students too. They're all grown now, and they look at me like I'm the child. Mom, no, you can't go there by yourself. You need somebody to go with you. It's so funny. But the one thing I did one summer, I got so upset with them, I went on strike. And my husband bought into that as well. He traveled a lot, but it was like they wanted me to be a restaurant. This one doesn't eat meat. This one doesn't eat fish. This one only eats pasta. This one, this one, that. So one day I said, you know what? It is too hot. I'm too tired. And this is what's going to happen. I gave them cash money, took them to the grocery store, dropped them off, and said, call me when you all get the groceries. And I want you to get whatever you're fixing, because you all are going to be fixing the meals every day except the weekends. Your dad will be grilling out on Sunday. I'll do the Saturday, and the Friday nights pizza night. That was like a tradition. And I'm done with that. So call me. So I did that.
What
Then I said,
happened?
oh, by the way, you're doing your own laundry, and certain things you're going to do mine too. You got this to do. I mean, and they all were like capable. They had nights that they would do it, but with school and sports and other things. Uh-oh, I think I'm fading here. We
Oh,
might
your
have.
power your power?
Yes, it just went on save mode. Can you still see me?
Yeah. Yeah.
It looked okay from my screen. It looked like it faded a little bit. So it's not in red yet. But anyway, to get back to the point, this was during the summer, so they didn't have the excuse of homework. They had camp activities and other things like that, but no, they didn't have all of the other responsibilities that school brings during the year. Oh, it was the best decision I could have ever made, because they were fussing that they had to do household stuff, they had to cook, they had to clean, do their laundry. I'm like, hello. A couple of them got jobs, doing summer camps or at other places. So they had responsibilities than this in the summer that they would have at college, but they got a pass during the school year because they had the academic part. But that was the best thing I could have taught them. They're all great cooks. They all
Wow.
can take care of themselves. And by the way, when they got their own places and I went there, and I remember I had a cup and I put it in the sink, and my daughter said, did you see a cup in that sink before you got here? Now, when they come here, they eat up the food, they make the kitchen a mess like they did when they were growing up. But their places, I'm pleased to say, they do take care of
What a
themselves.
great
And I guess
lesson.
home is home, where they can just expect mom's going to take care of everything.
What a great lesson at that
Yes.
age back then. And to have it actually work is another whole thing.
Well,
So
we can't be afraid of our kids in that way.
yeah.
We have to give them more responsibility, because that teaches them to be functional and productive citizens of the world. They're our future. It's like, look, I
Yeah.
want you guys to be able to have competency to be able to do some things when I'm not able to.
Right. Well in that respect, what are some mistakes that high school and right now let's just talk about female high school student athletes. I know it goes both ways, men are the boys too and the girls. And I'm curious to know if it's different, but what are mistakes that these young athletes are making right now in high school that will affect their transition into college?
The expectations are unreasonable and unrealistic. because there's a sense of entitlement, because other people have been around to do things for them, whether it's the coaches or the assistants in the athletic department or other adults, teachers or parents. There's this mindset that they can't do, so then they won't do. And they can't know what they've never had the opportunity to learn or they were never taught. And I'll give you a classic example of that. My youngest would go to the store and go to the bank with me running errands all the time. So one day I said, here, you go in and deposit, he'd gotten some birthday money or something and deposit that. So he goes to go in and then he comes right back out. He goes, Mom, I don't know how to write a deposit slip. I don't know how to do that. I've just been with you when you've done it, but he had never done it. I never thought about that. And
Wow.
even going to the mall, I said, oh, you need to go get some pants and go do this and this. I'll, let you go with your friends. So he would go hang out at the mall, but he'd never gone shopping for himself by himself at the mall. So he didn't know like the difference in the sizes between the jeans and the dress pants and how to gauge that, or if they were already hemmed or not hemmed. And these are kinds of things that they're with you, but they're not the ones doing it because we're the ones doing it and not thinking about it. And the age of technology, there's so much that is dependent upon the technical tools that the brain power is not there. Not that they don't have the capacity, but they've not used it in that way.
I
And
have that, I have, experienced that myself with this GPS thing in the car,
yeah,
you know, that I just put it in there and follow it instead of remembering where to go.
right, where to go. And
It needs to have
that is very right. And that is a very critical point there, coach, because um, working with the military, there's certain military installations that jam the GPS systems because of what they're doing. And I found that out with two different military installations. One was Air Force and one was Army. And it was leading me, the GPS was leading me the wrong way. And it was like completely opposite. It was like, wait a minute, what am I doing here? And it was at night. Fortunately, my husband was with me. And I said, what kind of base is this? Then I found out what kind of base it was. And so they were jamming the GPS systems so that other radar related things could not target
sure,
certain aspects. Well, I didn't know that at the time. And the same thing in Florida. Now, when the weather is overcast and bad, a lot of times it's not going to work because the signals get disrupted. So the read and the feeds are not going to be exact. So if you aren't paying attention and don't know and just totally depending on that, and there's one app in particular that drives me nuts because it wants to give you the best route. So you're going a certain route and then it changes because the traffic pattern changes. And then you're
right.
trying to turn around and go that way and then it keeps changing. And on the East Coast, in particular, in the DC area, Virginia, Maryland area, because there's a lot of water and you have to go around because there's no bridge going there. One time it was leading me right into the water. I was like, oh my gosh,
No,
there's no bridge there. Yes, it's crazy because it wasn't reading, because the water, the body of water was small. So it wasn't reading that there was no direct route there. And it was a boat launch. And I'm just driving along. I'm like, wait a minute, that field, the water's moving. And it's like, that was water. And that was pretty scary when I really thought about it. But because it was dark, the moon was shining on the water and the waves. I'm like, that's not a field.
don't go there.
But
Well,
we
so
do need
let
to
me
have
ask you
those
this.
backup skills because batteries go out, systems don't work. And being able to problem solve just using our brain power, which is an amazing machine in and of itself,
So
is so critical.
along those lines, what are like,
Yes.
okay, here are three things that high school student athletes should be doing right now to help with their, and we've kind of talked about some of this, but to lay them out for them, three, you should be doing these three things. There's probably more, but what are the top three things they could be doing to help themselves for the future in transitioning?
Well, number one is to learn who you are, trust in yourself, Because if you have no one around to do for you, or is with you, or you can go to, and all you have is you,
Who are
you're
you?
the one with the ball.
Yeah.
Okay. Learn how to feel comfortable with just you and trusting you, your intuition, your instinct. And if you can't trust the one person you're with 24/7, then that's a problem
Mm,
because you're all you got.
yeah.
It's every man for themselves when it comes to life and living that life you were given. Nobody can live it for you. And so the decisions you make that affect your life are yours and yours only. An athlete gets injured, has to make a decision. It's their bodies. Well, I don't know how to do that. Somebody tell me what to do. How can I tell you what to do for you and your life and your body? I can make recommendations, so can a lot of people, but you're the only one that can live it, live through it, live with it. And so that's number one.
Awesome.
Know yourself. Be comfortable with just you and learn to trust you. That's number one. Number two, learn discernment.
Great.
What makes sense? I'm going to give you $1,000,000 just to give it to you. No, a price, we pay a price for everything. And so if you believe that you're getting something for nothing, then that's not anything you want. So discernment is the other one that I would say. And then skills, 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 skills. Learn skills. Sports is a skill. It's also a talent, but how you use it can evolve. Once an athlete, always an athlete. Because one of the things about an athlete is that if you are focused as an athlete, you learn discipline, timeliness. You learn what it feels like to have a sense of accomplishment that you earned, not something given to you, not something you bought, but something you earned. And learning what that feels like to have a sense of accomplishment because you've had a sense of purpose, that's invaluable. No amount of money can buy that for you. And nobody can pay for that. Now, yes, athletes can make money, but that's doing a certain thing in a certain period of time. That's not going to last forever. What's the next thing to be prepared for? It's just like in sport. You know, you start out a beginner, then intermediate, and then you become an expert. Then maybe you become a mastery, or they change the game because of you.
I think that's
Whether
great.
it's on the court or field or off, that's called the evolving aspect of life, changing and transforming.
I think that's so important, and I know that you know the team that we had. This was some time ago when we were working with the women's team there at Minnesota. That there was a player there, actually probably more than one, but one in particular who um, was so hard on herself as an athlete that it sort of stalled her because it was so difficult. And when she got injured, she floundered just with what you're talking about because she didn't know who she was without sport. She didn't know, she couldn't see herself existing without that thing that she had grown up with.
Well, that's
So
called identity foreclosure. And that's the part of her that her identity was the sport. And so she became the sport became her. And they become their sport. So instead of saying, I play basketball, I play football, I play tennis, it's like, I am tennis. I am the sport.
yeah. So what role, if any, and do they coaches of high school athletes? So we're talking about the high school coaches, the
Mhm.
travel coaches, the club coaches, the personal trainers, for the individual sport type people, also, the pros that work with golf and all those other people that are working on the athletic part. What role do they have in helping this transition piece?
Um, that's really a tough question because you're asking me to define the particular role the others need to have with their athletes or should have. Maybe, I'm not sure, but their focus is the job. they're there to do a job. And especially when I look at the athletic trainers, I mean, they have a very critically, I mean, everybody has an important job, but everybody, what time is it? Um,
It's 9:45.
okay.
How much
I
time is
have
that?
I have 15 minutes. So this is a snooze time. I have another webinar at 10 o'clock.
Oh, well,
So,
then we can make this shorter, but can you
well,
try
it just gave me the alert on my other computer. So,
can you can you hold your phone still?
oh,
They're gonna be like this, watching this thing.
yes, I'm trying to kind of get the right angle here because this is a smaller screen. So,
That's good,
uh,
that's good.
is this okay?
Yes, that's good. I'll move back too, so we look like we're about the same size.
Oh, yeah, because it's showing a whole lot more here. So the camera thing is different, but anyway, it still works. It
It
still
still
works.
works, it'll still be great.
Yeah, but getting back to your question, the thing that is when I look at what everybody needs to do, whether it's the coaches, the trainers, other assistants, they each have a job to do. And so they're there first and foremost to do their jobs. How they do the jobs are very different. I mean, at one point, it's changing so much at the college level, particularly because of the NILs now. And, they can have money that they weren't allowed to have before, so they can go back and forth home. The resource distribution is different now. If a player is injured, I'm getting the same things from my students that are athletes. If they get injured, it's like they don't count anymore. They don't exist. They're treated as if they're not even there, that they're taking up space. And, I don't like that. These kids are here, they're a long way from home. Some are international students. And not that they want to get injured or get sick or anything, but they still are kids. They still were young adults. They're still people. They're still human. And institutions exist for a reason, but I struggle with how to address that particular area, which is why I think families hire me to help bridge that aspect.
Yeah,
Um, and I have college students, I have students that I pick up, like going from high school to college, but they come back to me in college and they're going through the college experience or even transitioning from college into life. And I mean, some I've had 15, 16 years. I started working with them when they were in high school. So it's different phases and stages that you encounter different things. But if they haven't had the support network there that's healthy and genuinely there to help them meet their needs as people, not as athletes or a meal ticket for someone, um, then a lot of times that's when I'm brought in.
yeah, that makes sense. And so when you look at the transition piece, it's change. And so what are the top things that high school student athletes struggle with the most with the change going into college? This the change piece of it, because it's different and they're not prepared, in my opinion. They're not prepared for it.
I think it's the identity, because they have to start all over and they're not who they were when they left high school or left college behind or whatever the transition is. It's transformative. And because I work with elite athletes, it's even a stronger transition, and stronger because there's so many more demands on them, so much more pressure. And the expectations of them, in my opinion, are not reasonable and or realistic. And as one athlete said, he had the opportunity to speak to parents as he was graduating from high school to college. And he was at a very, very good private school. He went to a very, very good college and even went to the pros. But one of the things he said to the parents in the audience, parents, we are your children. We're not your trophies. And that was powerful.
That's
And
really good.
I mean, yes. And it needed to be said, but who said it made all of the difference in the world. not just the fact that he was a superstar athlete at the college level, but he was very intelligent, took his education very seriously, but he wanted to be focused on being and enjoying his high school life. He wanted a college life. And yes, he was gifted in the athletic department, but he also just wanted to be a person. And fortunately, his family was supportive. He had a single mom. She did an amazing job raising him with the mindset he had. But so many of the other parents, and it's not just in sport, it's in a lot of other things, academic, going into certain areas the parents want you to go in as opposed to what the child wants. We have to check that, because there's so much pressure. And now with COVID, the anxiety, the depression, in addition to just trying to live life, there's a lot of pressure from the expectations. And that makes it hard. You know, when we look at the demands of our society, the kids that are on medications just to cope. There's an advertisement on TV that Petco, or I don't mean to say a brand, but is now selling some kind of a tablet without a prescription that'll help dogs be calm.
Oh
It's
my.
like, seriously, you
Yeah.
know, is that the road we're on? Is that the road we want to be on? These artificial substances that helps you lose weight, gain weight. Uh, you know, it's like, what about the healthy natural foods? I know that gets into another discussion about food chains, but my goodness, how many layers and how much work do we have to do just to sustain when we can eat, pray, laugh, enjoy life? And that's the piece that I'd like to see more of, is where people really thoroughly enjoy life and living it.
Yeah, that pressure thing does sometimes cloud the vision of the fun. You know, you play sports when you're young because it's fun, and as you get older, it becomes less and less fun and more business with more and more pressure, with more and more stress, and you know, it's hard to go back and remember what that was.
Right. And you know, you're so right about that too. I like what you said, the fun in playing the sport versus the business side of it, because it takes work even to play. So this isn't a work issue I'm talking about. It's a fulfillment and enjoyment, a sense of purpose element that is so necessary and needed, but that's being eliminated, it seems,
That's
in
so
this.
funny that you say it that way. That's such a perfect way to say it, is you're working regardless.
Right.
The way you're looking at it, that is the change, that the you know, the difference, that this work was fun when you were young. Why is this work stressful and all of that when it's the same work? That's a
Absolutely.
great point.
Yes, and you coined it. You said the business of it. Well, you know, it's like, remember why you play the game? You played because you enjoyed it. You weren't get paid doing it. It was hard. It was tough. It was rough, but you were thrilled to do it any and every time you had the opportunity to. And that's what it's about. You know, we have passion about something. So it doesn't feel like work, even though you're working, but it's not the business side robbing you of the enjoyment of it. And yes, we have the business of life, we have the business of health, it's all of that. But we have some flexibility in how we choose to deal with that. And that's what brings me full circle as we wind down here, is that it starts with me, the person looking at me in the mirror. And I'm the one responsible for me in that space.
Powerful. That's awesome. I love it. I love this conversation. I know we could go on forever. And I just, you know, I really appreciate you taking the time because I know you have a lot going on. You have a busy schedule. And, you know, even being a grandmother right now, that's got to take up some time too. That's such a powerful thing.
Well, I make that a priority. And you know, and that's what people can't believe, that I walk away from doing amazing things, at least in their eyes, because I want to be able to have a day with my grandson and pick him up from his preschool and take him to the museums and do things with him, or just be with my family. And we're just hanging out, doing nothing, watching movies, maybe sitting around talking. There's no amount of money, no fancy trips or anything that could take the place of that in my mind.
Well,
And just love that,
yeah.
because that's not something other people can control, you know, what I experience in my life. But being with you, Barb, and having an opportunity to talk about the things that we enjoy and our passion, especially with kids and young adults and athletes, and being the best we can be as coaches, whether it's life coach, sport coach, transitioning coach, but whatever we can do to be of support to help them learn how to take the reins and fly, be the
Yeah.
wind beneath the wings if we have to, you know?
Yes, yes. Well, you're an amazing person who's making such a difference with so many people, including my life, because my life shifted when I met you as well. So you're making a difference, and you're so collected that you understand life is also very important. Your person, is very important. So it's such a great lesson for all of us to take this in and just remember it's just a sport. It's not who you are. And the transition is, you
Yeah.
as a person staying who you are and taking,
Yes.
taking it into college.
There you go. Be you.
Be you. I'm going to go back and listen to this again because be you, you said something that rhymed. So I'm going to have to figure out what that was.
At the beginning.
Yes. Dr. Yo, I'm so thankful for you and God bless. And thank you again for doing this. And thanks to all of our Find My Team conversation listeners. Hopefully we can learn from this conversation.
Well, thank you, Coach Barb. I appreciate you remembering me, inviting me to come in and speak with your group. And I'm here. So just reach out anytime.
Yes. Careful what you wish for.
That's right. That's right. I'm ready. I'm okay with it. All right. Here
All
now.
right. Take care. Thanks again. We'll talk soon.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.